Good day, everyone, and thank you so much for joining C.H.L.M.S Medi-Helpz Foundation in day 27 of the Black Health in History event that we have hosted throughout the month of February in honor of those who have made a way in healthcare, whether they're clinicians, whether they're patients, who have made a way. We need everyone to step on board and everyone to understand what's going on when we talk about patients, and understand that it's not just patients that we're talking to or that we're sending love out to. What it is patients. It is actually also the internal network of support that the patient has, as well as the external support. And when I say external support, I speak of those providers who are in the fray with us, right? They're in the fray with us. They're standing side by side with us, saying, the system says we have to do this, but this is what we rightfully want to do, and this is what we're going to do, and make a way to ensure that all patients, especially those that C.H.L.M.S Medi-Helpz Foundation serves, which are the under-resourced, the vulnerable, and the disabled communities, making sure that patients that belong to those communities actually receive not just better health outcomes, but the best health outcomes. So today, on day 27 of the Black Health in History Month event, we have none other than Miss Jeweline. Everyone calls her Jewel.
Yeah.
She's with us today, and after I read her bio, she has a special presentation that she wants to share with us. If you are, and we'll talk about what she's going to share with us after I read her bio and after she shows you what it is that she made. Awesome. But at this point in time, I do want to take the time to say thank you, Jewel, for coming in today. As I stated before we started, we do this Black Health in History event. And what better way to sort of wind down the week than to bring on the key factor in any healthcare decision, any healthcare choice, any healthcare policy or procedure, and that is the very patient themselves. So without further ado, I will go ahead and read Jewel's bio. She was born in Chicago, Illinois. Woo woo! And she lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Jewel is a resilient soul and is battling the challenges of chronic illnesses with unwavering strength. Jewel's journey is a testament to the power of determination and the resilience of the human spirit. In August 2021, Jewel was diagnosed with Cushing's disease. This disease occurs when your body makes too much cortisol, a hormone related to the body's stress response. It's a rare pituitary disorder that is progressive. This means that without treatment, it will get worse over time. The symptoms of Cushing's disease includes weight gain in the trunk with thin arms and legs, weight gain in the face, a fatty lump between the shoulders. This may be referred to as a buffalo hump, brown stretch marks on the stomach, hips, thighs, breasts, and underarms. The thin, frail skin that bruises easily and slow wound healing. In October of 2021, Jewel had brain surgery to remove the tumor that was causing her illness. During this caused a host of other chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases to appear. Through this adversity, Jewel remains to be a beacon of hope, inspiring others with her unwavering positivity and commitment to living life to the fullest. Her determination not to let the illness define her has led her on a path of self-discovery, personal growth, and incredible achievements. Jewel has become an advocate for chronic illness awareness, using her own experiences to raise awareness, educate others, and foster a community of support. So I'm just going to stop right there for a moment. Those of you who've noticed, some have noticed and some haven't noticed, But those of you who have noticed, what will happen is that, or what has happened with C.H.L.M.S Medi-Helpz Foundation is every day for the month of February, as we brought on different speakers, there's been a quote to speak to what's going on with this particular senior subject matter expert that we have asked to come on. Please take a look at the post that was put out today, the details of the post. Miss Viola Davis wrote a strong post, strong quote in reference to Black women who face health challenges. Please take a look at that quote. If you need me to, you want a copy of it, please let me know so that I can send it to you to make sure that you do it. And it actually clearly, when I looked at this quote yesterday as I was getting prepared for today's event, as I looked at it, I was like, this fits Jewel to a T. With all that she's been through, she continues to go through, and she's still fighting even harder. So Jewel embraces each day as a new opportunity for growth and gratitude. She has learned to find beauty in the small moments, to celebrate every accomplishment, and to savor the joy that life has to offer. Jewel continues to inspire others to embrace their own challenges, to find strength in their vulnerability, and to believe in the limitless possibilities that exist within each and every one of us. Jewel's story is a powerful reminder that every day is an opportunity to thrive no matter the circumstances. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Jewel in. I'm going to let her tell her story on what she's been through, since she's been diagnosed, the fight that she's had since she's been diagnosed. I'm also going to let her at this present time stand up and show us this beautiful shirt that she made. And if you're interested in getting this shirt, go ahead, reach out to my girl. She is busy making her and our ancestors proud, because every last one of our ancestors is cheering for her right now. Every last one of them. So yes, indeed, she does have a shirt. I'm gonna let her tell you. I'm gonna stop talking because I can talk. I'm gonna stop talking, and I'm gonna let her go ahead and tell her story. Go ahead, Jewel.
Hi, well, my name is Jeweline Dukes. Like you said, I got diagnosed with Cushing's disease in August of 2021. That was after a long few years of being sick, gaining weight, being tired, um, at pain, everything. Finally was able to get diagnosed. And in October of 2021, I had my brain surgery to remove the pituitary tumor that was causing my Cushing's disease. And it's been a whirlwind of issues ever since. Um, I've gone into crisis twice, which a crisis is when your cortisol drops too low. So cortisol is a vital hormone in our body that we all need to live. So when that is too high or too low, your body starts to kind of act out. So when it's too high, as you stated, you'll get the buffalo hump, the striae. For African Americans, it looks brown, but for Caucasians, it looks purple. Um, you'll get muscle weakness, bone weakness. So for me personally, I have osteoporosis. I have arthritis in my neck, spine, hips, and knees. This is all the things that Cushing's has caused, all the side effects of Cushing's. There's a lot more, and I can't think of them right now at this moment. But Cushing's disease, I believe, plagues the Black community. And it can cause uncontrollable high blood pressure, uncontrollable high blood sugar, which in us, they just say you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, but they don't ever check our hormones to see if there's something causing it. So I do want people to know that if you have uncontrollable diabetes or if you have uncontrollable hypertension, and by uncontrollable, I mean even with medication, it's just not being controlled. Have them test your cortisol and see if it's high. Cortisol, Cushing's disease is a rare disease, but I more so think it's rarely diagnosed, especially in African Americans. Um, there's a global forum where CSRF, Cushing Support and Research Foundation, they did a study, and less than 2.1% of the people that took this survey were African American. And that 2.1% includes indigenous and other people of color. And I refuse to believe that only less than 2% of the people diagnosed with Cushing's are African American. I just think it's rarely diagnosed in our community because we're African American. We're supposed to have high blood pressure, right? We're supposed to have diabetes. And I just don't think that's the case for every person, every African American that has diabetes and has high blood pressure. So I wanted to be an advocate for this disease so that we know what to look for and we know how to talk to our doctors and what to say to them to try to get treated for this disease, because having it long enough, it can be fatal. So that's why I advocate as hard as I do. I had some facts here. 99% of the people in that study experience anxiety and or depression. That is a lot of people to just be depressed. That's not the state we should live in. Also, 9 out of the 10 of the people in this study lost physical strength. They had pain, muscle weakness, and insomnia. All these things are just living with those things on a daily basis. Being chronically ill is not fun at all. So I just want to advocate for Cushing's disease and a lot of other diseases as well, because we in the African American community, we very seldom go to the doctor. We don't really trust the doctors because, let's be honest, how many of us get correctly diagnosed when we first go to the doctor? So I just thank you for having this platform for us to be able to speak about being Black and us going through the healthcare system.
Well, of course, like as I stated, this is when we have Black Health and History Month. This is for us, for all of us that are patients. I have to say all of us because I'm a patient. I'm not sure how many of us out here aren't patients. I'm sure there are, but to be real, how many really? Like you just stated, a lot of times we don't go to the doctor, so we don't know if we are patient or not. And unfortunately, in our community, a lot of times we don't even find out about us being a patient until it's way too late, such as COVID and such as all the people in COVID that we lost in our community that's tied to COVID, right? They didn't know they had these underlying conditions because nobody, absolutely nobody, is really talking about and paying attention to the fact that your personal history is tied to your family history. And even if it's like a smidgen of a way, it's still really tied to it. So for that, I do thank you for being here. I have Gaina Braxton that's on. She said what you're saying is a very great point, and I've said it again. And this isn't the only time that we've spoken, you and I, Jewel, but I've stated that we as African Americans, we don't know what's wrong with us, and ain't nobody telling us. Ain't nobody come to get us. And with the yellow school bus, it's not showing up on your block anytime soon. So we, all of us that have spoken during the month of February have brought that same issue. That's a commonality that I'm finding, and I'm hoping those that are listening at whatever time that they're listening to or sharing this information with people are sharing it out there so that people do know. It's a reality check for everyone, as I've stated before. And I thank you for not doing this, as I stated to all of the guests that have come on and given them their time. Do not sugarcoat anything. Lay it out there, because the issue with us is that we're so used to people sugarcoating it that that is unreal. We just really are used to we've gotten complacent, for lack of
Yeah.
another word. We like whatever, well, whatever, and we realize that when we're sitting back and we're saying whatever, we're keeping our kids up. We're not thinking about our kids. We're not thinking about our community. We're not thinking about anything other than being selfish and thinking of ourselves when we say, "Oh, I got a headache, but I ain't going to the doctor. I'm just going to take me some pills." How you know the pills are helping you? You don't. I mean, and so what you bring up is very, very good. Is what you brought up was very good. The fact that we have to go. You go to the doctor and you ain't feeling good. You hear some of the symptoms that Jewel just brought about, or anybody else that you come across that brings up. Ask the doctor, because they ain't gonna ask you. Could you check me? Could you check my cortisol? Could you check my protein level? Could you check all of this stuff? Unless we ask, they're not gonna do it. We have Nikki Peterson that's saying this is Austin trying to figure it out yourself. Advocates make it a little easier. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that, Miss Nikki, for that shout out in reference to advocates and how advocates make it a little easier. We tend to advocates on all levels, whether it's a community advocate, whether it's a facility advocate, or an independent advocate. We try to make it easier for the patients, because we know what a puzzle, what a maze, lack of a better word, a maze or a
Yeah.
puzzle with 30,000 different pieces, and you sick and you trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I do this? How do I overcome this? You really can't figure it out, right? So you need help, right?
Yeah.
So we as
And you have
yeah,
to learn which questions to ask. Like you have to learn how to deal with these doctors because there's a certain way to deal with them to get what you need.
right. But the thing of it is, Joel, and this is it, right? There's a certain way to deal with them, right? So, but Nikki was saying advocates make it easier. We would like to make it a whole lot easier, but we need the patience to be transparent with us, so that when we go fighting on your behalf or with you, we know what we're doing. We know we can get that answer for you, and that answer a whole lot sooner if we don't know. If we just dealing with, okay, well, they said this. But if we have the whole picture, we can help you on a whole entirely different level. But to your point, Jewel, before I read Gaina's other 2 points, to your point, right? There's a certain way you deal with a doctor. There's a certain
Hmm.
way they deal with us. The one way you deal with a doctor is you don't not say anything.
Right.
Right? And too many of us are doing just that. The doctor say one thing, we say okay, and we going about doing what the doctor wants us to do. But what happens if what the doctor wants you to do ain't working for you?
Exactly.
You ain't talking. You think it's gonna get
What you do?
fixed on right? You ain't talking. You think it's gonna get fixed on its own? No, it's not gonna get fixed on its own. That voice that you have is the most powerful tool that you
Hmm.
have that belongs to you. Why would you have it and not use it? Why? Why?
Yes.
Right? Gaina is saying, I wonder how many people have Cushing's that have not been diagnosed. And that goes to your earlier point. Jules said it earlier. There are a lot more people that probably have Cushing's that haven't been diagnosed because it's a rare disease, first of all. And, with us, we're African, like Bianca Dickerson Williams said when she was on a couple of weeks ago, her overall theme was we black. Like we black. And because we black, unless we go in there asking for things and saying, hey, we need this, can you test me for that? Well, look, doctor, I know what you want me to do, but what I want to do is not what you want to do. So let's do this thing they call patient-centered care. And me use my voice, you use your voice, and then we come in the middle and we meet in the middle. Or let's change doctors, because the doctor that we want on our team is not, they, like I said, I had to do it a couple of years ago. I had a doctor. My whole thing of my medical treatment is I want all my providers to work together.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lead doctor who I love very, very much. I like her style. Um, I appreciate everything she does for me. She's my lead doctor. She's African American, so a lot of my other doctors have caused some pullback in them talking to her and letting her do what I've actually asked her to do, which is to lead and guide my healthcare, right? But a lot of us get in that situation. So back to me, what I had to do was I had to excuse the other doctor that didn't want to play in the same sandbox as the rest of them and say, okay, we're
Mm-hmm.
going about your business because I don't have time for you. So for all patients that are out there, especially African American patients, if you have a doctor that is not like, you're not understanding him, he or she is not understanding you, and that's a hindrance for your health, you need to find another doctor. Because soon
Mm-hmm.
as, trust and believe, if you're doing something and they don't believe that it's what they want you to do and you're non-compliant and you're really non-compliant, they will send you a letter in the mail and tell you that they suggest you find another doctor. So why are we holding on to doctors that are not good for
That
our
are non-compliant.
right, right, exactly. You just said it, right? That are non-compliant technically. Why? Why are you holding on to them? And unfortunately, especially, it's harmful for all patients. But this is Black History Month, so we're bringing it real for our African American / Black patients, especially for our Black seniors. They
Mm.
complacent with the doctor, and they don't want to leave that doctor because they're so for sure that that doctor is leading them and doing whatever it is that they did. They're stuck. They've been with this doctor 60 years, 70
Yeah.
years, 50 years, whatever, and they get stuck in that situation. Well, when you get stuck in that situation, rare conditions, that disease conditions that you can come up with, such as Cushing's, right? Such as many of the other rare disease conditions that are in the African American communities, but we don't know about it because we're not being tested for it. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know about it because they're hiding it in between the sheets and they're not bringing it up. Well, it hurts you. And because it hurts you, it hurts us because, you are our lead. You are who we follow. So when you get to that age and you get to that stage where Dr. Smith could be doing everything wrong and nothing for your benefit, and you don't want
Right.
to listen, it hurts. Gaina saying, what made your doctor test you? So yeah, I'm just gonna get to that. Thank you, Gaina, so much. So what made your doctor test you? And so for everybody to know, to take notice, how long did it take for them to test you and finally tell you that this was what was wrong with you?
Oh my goodness. So at the beginning of 2020, I had a mini stroke and I went to the hospital. I was in there for 3 or 4 days. They did all these MRIs of my head trying to figure out what happened, came up with nothing. And a year later, I do an MRI of my head and they see a tumor. And I was very confused. So, but I've been sick for many years. So how they got to test me, I after my mini strokes, they couldn't figure out what's wrong. So of course I did what we all do. Well, most of us do. I started eating healthy. I started exercising and I had lost some weight. I was doing really good. And all of a sudden I started gaining weight. So, and when I say gaining weight, I mean rapidly. I gained over 100 pounds in about 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And it took for that 100 pounds. I went to my primary care physician. He's like, well, you're not eating healthy. You're not exercising. You can't be doing those things because you're gaining weight. And he sends me to a nutritionist. The nutritionist is like, well, you can't be eating this stuff because you're gaining weight. So I went to an endocrinologist, and her first thing to me was, well, I can give you weight loss drugs. And I said, no, I don't want that. Well, I don't know what else we can do for you. You gonna do something. So she decided to run a cortisol test. So my first test was a dexamethasone suppression test. And I had to take dexamethasone pill 11 o'clock Sunday night, go in at 8 o'clock Monday morning and test my cortisol levels. And the first thing she said when she called me was, "Did you take the pill?" I said, "Yes, I took the pill." My numbers, it was supposed to be below a point 0.9, I want to believe. Don't quote me on that. My number was 16.9. And she says, "Well, did you take the pill?" "Yes, I took the pill." "Well, your numbers are really high." And so at this point, I had already done all of my research and I knew exactly what I needed to do. And she's like, "Well, we'll send you for an MRI." So I went and got my MRI. They saw a 5 millimeter tumor on my pituitary gland. That is so small you can't even see, but it was affecting my life in a horrible way. Um, so where was I?
You was talking about the pituitary gland.
Yeah, so I went to the MRI and they found the tumor, and she told me, "Well, there's nothing we have to do right now. We'll just watch it." So I took all of this blood work and this MRI and went to a different endocrinologist. And I said, "Here, I have all of this information. Can you help me?" And she said, "You have Cushing's disease. And in order to be diagnosed, you have to have urine tests, saliva tests, and blood tests to confirm Cushing's." So I had to do one 24-hour urine, three saliva tests, and then two blood tests in order to be diagnosed. All of those tests came back high. None of them were normal. And that is how I ended up getting diagnosed.
The power of your voice is what made the difference, because and I'm seriously hoping that people that are viewing this, watching this, take some time to actually, you can get a copy of this link so that you can share it with as many people as you possibly can. The power of the voice is what made the difference for Jewel, because had she simply taken what they told her at first and walked away and just been like, "Okay, well, she said not to worry about it, so I'm not going to worry about it," even though they saw the signs, they knew that something, when I say they, I'm speaking of the medical team that was watching her and was monitoring her. They knew something was wrong. How they came up with, "Oh, you ain't eating right," even though you were at the gym working out, but you're not eating right. And, "Oh, you let's change your diet," without them telling you why you need to change your diet.
Nobody asked me what I eat. Nobody asked me, "How often do you exercise?" They just told me I wasn't doing enough.
Without even knowing what you were doing. They just said, because because you're black.
You can't be. You gaining weight, right? You
Right,
can't be doing these things.
right. No testing, no, and even without the testing, you looking at someone who's gaining rapid weight. That's a sign that you're,
The
some
funny
people,
part, I've been with this doctor for over 10 years. So it's not like it was somebody who didn't know me or didn't. I have been with this doctor for over 10 years, and he told me, "Oh, you can't be doing that. I'm going to send you to a nutritionist."
and so there again goes that trust issue, right? Which is so real in our community. And so many times people will say, um, black people don't trust doctors. Well, I mean,
We
why
have a
should we? Right? Why should we trust doctors? Unless we get a really good doctor. Like I said, I've been blessed to have found a doctor that understands me and I understand her. We have conversations, we have talks, we have discussions. in reference to, and on top of that, she knows that she just can't come to me and say anything, and I'm gonna be like, okay, well, let's go with that,
Right.
because I use my voice, and she looks for that, and when she sends me out to specialists, she tells them, I'm sending you, a patient. This is what there's just certain things that she's not going to allow you to do or say to her. Whatever you do, you need to know that she's going to check behind you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
she knows how I am. And so that's what kind of doctors that you want to have on your medical team. And we all should have a medical team, because especially if you have a health condition, right? You want a medical team. That medical team should include your primary doctor, your specialist. Find a doctor that ends in IST for whatever it is that you are condition that you are being challenged with. Jewel just brought up the diabetic doctor, because that is the doctor who works with Cushing's disease, is the endocrinologist. Can you go see a regular medical doctor? Well, I mean, you sure you can, but why would you go see just a regular? No, I'm not going to say a regular medical doctor, but why would you go see a medical doctor that doesn't specialize in your disease or your condition when you can go see a specialist? So you want to
And
make sure
not only that, but you want to see a specialist that specializes in what you have.
right,
So I could go see any endocrinologist, but
right.
not any endocrinologist knows about Cushing's disease.
Exactly. So that in fact is, if you can't find an endocrinologist that specializes in the disease you have, then have that endocrinologist refer you to. They all have networks. They know who teaches, who's good at what. They know. They do know, so
You
that
can
they can
also you can also do your own research. Look it up. These doctors, they put their profiles online. They tell you what they do. They tell you what they specialize in. Do your own research. Because even if somebody refers you to somebody, that doesn't necessarily mean that's the best doctor for you.
That is so very, very true. And that's a very good point. Do your own research. Be the leader of your own health care. Be that one that leads that journey where it needs to go for you. Nobody else can do that but you. I mean, we could all try, but at the end of the day, nobody else could do it but you,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want to have the specialist. You also want to have a dentist, because whatever medical condition you are dealing with, it's extremely important to have a dentist, because a lot of times our dentists, what many people don't realize is that our dentist can pinpoint that there's a problem before your actual doctor. So don't
Mm-hmm.
rule a dentist out. Make sure you have a dentist on your health plan. As a matter of fact, dentists are so very, very important that over the last 1 or 2 years, I can't really pinpoint exactly when it occurred, but what's now happened with dentists is that if you're being treated for a medical condition, your claims are not processed as a dental claim, they're processed as a medical claim, which means that you
Mm-hmm.
can go more than you would go if you, more than whatever plan you have says that you can go see a dentist. You have more opportunities to see a dentist, because now your condition is actually tied to your medical condition. So for those of you that are not aware of it, reach out, let me know. Hey, Sandra, can you give me? I have this, or somebody has this and they need dental work. Can you tell me if it should be paid as dental or medical, so that I can go ahead and look into it and give you what your health plan says? Because all health plans are different, but the 99.5% of them, if you have certain conditions that you're seeing a dentist for, are now not considered to be dental, they're considered to be medical. So you want a medical provider as well. You also want to have a vision specialist. If you can get a vision specialist, you want to make sure your eyes are checked, because most rare conditions, actually most health conditions, period, at some point in time, they start to actually impact your eyes. All of this
Mm-hmm.
is considered holistic care. So you want to, make sure that you got all of these people on your team. Most importantly, you want to make sure that that team that you have works well together. Like I said, I had to remove a doctor and kick her off. I had a doctor that I had been seeing for 10 years. All of a sudden, they got to the point where she didn't want to talk to me. She wanted the nurse to talk to me. I'm not paying the nurse. My health insurance is not paying the nurse. My health insurance is paying the doctor. If you can't talk to me, then I need to go where I can see a doctor and where I could talk to a doctor at. So you have control over your health concerns. Gaina is saying what she's saying is very, very real. But Gaina, a lot of people in our community, they just don't get it. And so because they don't get it, a lot of times they don't go to the doctor. And she's saying you don't have to accept whatever the doctor you're given. You don't. Whatever the doctor gives you, if you don't think it's for you, me and my doctor, real quick, me and my doctor, before I started seeing a holistic doctor for my treatment for my diabetes, my doctor was like, I'm gonna give you this medicine, but I know you're not gonna take it. And I said, why you say that? She said, because I know you don't want to take no medicine. I had to tell her, I don't mind taking the medicine you give me or you prescribe for me, but you need to tell me why I'm taking it. If you can't really tell me why I'm taking it, then you're right. I'm not going to take it. So let me go to an outside specialist or outside medical care provider who gonna tell me all of this. Because no, I'm not taking this because you tell me to take it. We've tried that and look where I am. And at that point in time, my sugar level had been going flipping from 7 to 8 to 9. I mean, my sugar level was out of control because you want me to take medicine, and I'm like, I don't want to take that because that's what's making me sick. So I had to go look at outside for additional information. And I encourage all patients to do that, especially African American patients, especially women.
Mm-hmm.
We do it for everybody else. We look out for our kids, our moms, our dad. We look out for everybody else. At some point in time, we got to start looking out for ourselves because we cannot continue to pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of us Black moms and wives do. We give and give and give until our body just can no longer do it.
Right.
And honestly, that's kind of what happened to me. I I would make sure my family had everything they needed. Everybody else got everything they need except me. So now my health is dwindling. And luckily, I have a family that is there to take care of me. But a lot of people, they get sick and then their family's like, well, you can't do for me, bye.
Goes to show you, look, Jules, it goes to show you, right, that blood a lot of times is not thicker than water. Sometimes it's just real. Sometimes we find more love outside of our nucleus of our close knit family than we
Mm-hmm.
do in it. It's and that's sad, but that's the reality of things. Sometimes we get more love outside of our own family community than we get inside. And that's
Thank
really
you for being here, Nikki.
now. Question for you: I do. How long did it take for them to diagnose you?
The average diagnosis time for Cushing's disease, they say, is 6 years. I don't know how long I had Cushing's before I got diagnosed. I could probably look back. I had my son in 2016. I do know I had it then. Um, After I had him, I went through this very bad bout of depression, and they just shrugged it off to postpartum depression. And I'm like, nah, this ain't that. This is something else. Because if you want me to just be completely honest, I was suicidal. And I was having panic attacks. I went completely numb. And they took me to the hospital and told me it was anxiety paralysis. Who even knew that was a thing? But my body was just acting out. At 30 years old, I had arthritis in my knees. And they're like, well, you just, no, tell me why I got arthritis in my knees. But you can't tell a 30-year-old woman that you're just getting old or. So They just look at me and say they don't know. So I don't know exactly how long it was. I do know that I was sick um, prior to trying to have my son. So I went through infertility issues before I had my son. It took us 4 years to get pregnant. I went to fertility doctors, and they just kept wanting me to spend money, do IUI, do IVF, and I'm like, nah. For something in my spirit was telling me, nah, don't do that. Just give it a minute. So I did take some of the medications that they told me to take. Never worked. They gave me a diagnosis of unexplained infertility. So I started seeing a herbalist, um, and she put me on herbs to regulate my hormones. Within 6 months of me seeing her, I ended up getting pregnant. Now, the problem was while I was pregnant, I was fine. But after I had my baby, I could no longer afford to continue to see her because honestly, it was expensive. And that's when my health drastically declined. So it has to be at least 10 years, 10, 12 years. Yeah. So that was a journey.
I can only imagine, and I'm thankful that there are a lot more insurance companies that are actually now covering holistic treatments. They don't cover them all, but there are some that do cover holistic treatments. There are actually also what I encourage people to do who are like, you know what, I want to go the holistic route. I don't want to do medications. There are schools that people can go to that actually are in the holistic field, that a lot of times those students who are overseen by senior masters can actually offer those programs free or on a sliding fee scale. Once again, the importance of having organizations that are community based, like C.H.L.M.S Medi-Helpz, is that we do the research for you. We find out where you live at, and then we find out what schools are holistic, what schools do this, what schools do that, and then we can come back to the patient and say, okay, well, here's some things that we found out. You might want to reach out to them. You know what? Our ancestors didn't have this kind of, I mean, heck, they was jailed sometimes and beaten very, very badly. Sometimes for sharing this kind of information. Well, we have this information now. It's free knowledge through the internet. You can always get it. But what happens is that when patients are sick, they're tired. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, it had been maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, Jewel. I was in a doctor's office. Well, I wasn't there by myself, me and my husband, and we go with that support network. We were in a different doctor's office every other day. It became to be mind boggling to me. Why am I going to all of these doctors? What's going on where you can't figure out what's really going on? And you put me on medicine that's making me sicker than when I came in to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, so we know, we all of us that are patients know, especially those patients with the chronic conditions, right? And with the rare conditions, no. Look, I ain't got no time to be looking up all that information. I would love to look up that
I'm
information. I ain't got
tired.
time for that. I'm tired.
Tired.
I'm tired. Can somebody help me find the information? Reach out. We're here. Nikki is saying she loves you, Jewel, as such as I do. She had symptoms in 2005, and it took her to 2017 to get diagnosed. So, Gaina, it's taken some time, and everybody else has taken more than the length of time that it should take for you to find out. She had surgery. Nikki is saying she had surgery in 2018. And Nikki, I'm gonna tell you just like I tell Jewel, you need somebody, you need some help, you need some assistance. Please reach out. Please reach out. Don't go through these things on your own. Because you don't have to. You shouldn't have to go through them on your own. We love you because you're still here with us, sharing with your cohort, Miss Jewel, in reference to that journey that, while you didn't take it together, you took it nevertheless, right? You were on that same trail. So for that, we thank you. And as I said, for this, as I said, we so appreciate you. This is a patience day. We all out here talking about we want the patients and we want this and this. We want their information. And why ain't they taking a part of our processes that we have or our help that we trying to give you? Why are they not doing it? There you go. There you go. They told you
Exactly.
we don't trust you. And again, thank you, Sandra, for the work you do. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I studied this in school. I lived it every day of my life. I've lived it. I've seen it. I've been it. I don't have a choice. Somebody has to stop talking, right? You get up and
Action.
start doing some
Action.
stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody has to stop talking. Enough of this talk. What y'all talking about now? Now, know what y'all gonna do once y'all finish talking about this, right? I mean, there's. I love talking. Trust and believe. Everybody can tell you, especially when it comes down to health. It's a passion of mine. I'm driven by health. I'm driven by making a difference for all patients, especially those that belong in the communities that I belong to, right? But at the end of the day, I'm tired of talking. Look, we need to
Mm-hmm.
be making some plans. We need to be doing something other than sitting around here chit chatting. Chit chatting ain't helping nobody. Chit chatting had Miss Nikki waiting 18. She had Miss Nikki waiting 13 years to get her surgery. Had Jewel waiting over 10 years before her go into the doctor's office and say, "Look, no, we ain't doing it like that no more. Test me and test me now." Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had to, and this don't make sense. We're not second class citizens. We're first class citizens. And we need to start acting like we're first class citizens. We need
Yeah.
to, instead of being in competition with each other, we need to be in collaboration and say, how can I help you? What information can I give to you to help you along your path? That's the only way any of us are going to get any better. So, Miss
Yeah.
Jewel,
I wanna
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I want to actually mention another disease that I have that plagues the Black community. I have lipedema. Lipedema is a buildup of adipose fat. It is not fat that you can lose with diet and exercise. It is nodules that you can actually feel under your skin. And a lot of African Americans don't know that we have this disease. They realize that something's wrong. Oh, my hips are really big, or my butt is really big, or my thighs are really big. But they don't realize that that's a disease, that's abnormal. So that was something that I wanted to point out also in the Black community. If you feel like something is wrong, something is probably wrong.
Your intuition. Your intuition. Follow your intuition. And that lymphedema is real. We
Mm-hmm.
have Women's Health Month coming up in March. And they say November, coming up in March, which is lymphedema month. And we
Yeah.
will have a provider that actually is a lymphedema specialist, senior
Okay.
subject matter expert. Amira Muhammad will be delivering a discussion on lymphedema, what it
Okay.
looks like. So I'm gonna let you know when she's actually going to be on, so you can actually tune into, you don't just tune into her night, because it's 17 days of nothing but awesomeness coming in March. It's for us. It's to us, it's for us, it's by us. I do not have a male sitting on the women's month, and I will not have a woman sitting on the men's month when we get to men in June. We need to address ourselves. We need to make sure that we're talking to a community that does understand. Carolyn Coleman is saying hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for coming in. Appreciate you. So now my next thing is this. So with the Cushing's, now is lymphedema caused by Cushing's, or are they just two totally separate?
Two totally separate things. And I don't have lymphedema. I have lipedema.
Okay.
So they're different. Now what I do know is a lot of the women on my father's side of the family have it.
Okay.
So They just happen to come together. There's no correlation between the two,
So,
as far as I know.
okay. So what you just said is it's a family history.
Mm-hmm.
This is what is important, what you just said. And I believe the lymphedema that you're talking about, I believe that's actually what Dr. Muhammad does talk about. But we'll
Okay.
find we'll do some research when we get offline and we'll find out. But this is a thing. It's important for us to talk about family health. You are about the third or fourth person that I've heard this month alone talk about the importance of knowing what your family health history is.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a journal about, it's got to be 2.5 years ago. In that journal, there's a place for you to place your personal health history and your family health history. When I wrote the book, I had just I had just gotten over a bout with COVID. I got tired of turning on the TV every day and hearing all these people in our community that were passing away, knowing that they were passing away from underlying conditions which nobody was talking about. So I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
have to put family history in here. Like, we need to know our family history. What, and once again, I tell this story a lot, but I have to keep going back to it. My oldest sister lost her life to a condition that nobody had ever heard of before. And when my mother found out what the condition was, she was like, "Well, I don't know where she got that from because ain't nobody in the family had that." I said, "Mom, how you know?"
How you know?
Right. Well, and that's why I told her. I said, "Mom, how do you know?" Because we've had these conditions for such a long time, like for such a long time, but nobody was keeping track of it.
Mm-mm.
Nobody said
And
anything
they
about.
didn't talk about it.
Right. And if they did talk about it, guess what? It was, I tell the story all the time too. Sorry, y'all, but I have to keep going back to my nanny. When we were growing up, we went to Nanny's house for the holidays. We were all at Nanny's house on the holidays. As a kid, you dare not step 1 foot in that adult room. You had no business in there. Actually, we did, but we didn't have any business in there. Who are we going to stand up to and tell them so we can feel
Right.
like somebody's fist or somebody's hand, or just being chastised? Who are we to say? Right? Who are we to say to them? We gonna stay here because we want to know what you're talking about.
Right.
Right? None of us will be here today, especially nobody that I know, because birds of a feather flock together. So I know the people that I'm in cool that I'm close with. I know they were raised with the same understanding that I was. Kids stay in kids' places,
You stand.
not in
Mm-hmm.
adult places, right? So they were talking about. We don't know what they were talking about. All these years later, all of these years later, we're now finding out that some of these diseases that are coming about have been around for such a very long time. They've been in our family, but because they were either too stigmatized to talk about it, or it was a big hush hush. Especially cancer was a big hush hush when I was growing up. Nobody spoke
Mm-hmm.
about it. It was, that was just like having an STD, having cancer, right? So they didn't talk about it. And so now, years later, we're in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s. Some of us are even in our 20s, right? And now we're hearing about these conditions that are coming up. And the younger people right now are facing that challenge as well, which means that we are still, as adults, we ain't adulting when it comes down to our kids, right? We are not adulting when it comes down to our kids. And then adulting
I,
means talk to your children and tell them what's in your family. Get my journal, write it down. You don't even have to buy my journal. I just want you to write it down and keep it somewhere where they can find it. Should you unfortunately lose your life, your family will know what their history is so that they can go to the doctor and they can ask the doctor, well, could you test me for this? I just want to know if it's in my family, right? You only have to guess. My mom had this. Can you test me for it too? Just so I can make sure that I don't have it. We as African Americans, we got to do it, because if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us. We'll be dropping
mm-hmm.
off like flies. Anybody gonna care?
I tell you, my grandmother was in her 60s when she passed, and all of her daughters were in their 50s when they passed. There is not a woman, aside from my great grandmother, she was in her 90s. There is not a woman that lived past their 60s in my family. And I refuse to be a part of that statistic.
We stand here with you, the community, especially the community that's here, the community that's watching tonight, the community that, will be looking at this at some later point in time. We stand with you, Jewel. We're not going to let you give up. We're not going to see you give up. We just not going to do it. I mean, I have people that will come back and say, hey, whatever happened to such and such, and she was on your show, or, just keeping in touch to make sure that you're still here. We are your community. We stand with you. We stand in that gap for you. If there's ever, you know yourself, you call me or say something to me, Sandra, such and such and such is happening, and I'm on it.
I'll tell y'all, I was waiting about maybe a year. Was it a year? Trying to get an electric wheelchair. I met Miss Sandy through someone else's live. And within a few months, I had my wheelchair just based off what she told me to do.
But this is the thing. I told you, right? But without your voice, it wouldn't have gotten done. Mm-hmm. And I say that because I offered. I was like, Jewel, I'll make the phone call. You was like, no, I got this. Let me do it. You told me what to do. Let me do it. And you got on it. It was your voice that made the difference. It was me in the background encouraging you and leading you step by step to get that wheelchair. Yeah. But if it wasn't for your voice, where would we be at? You probably would still had that wheelchair, knowing me.
Eventually.
Right.
but like it's that information. The information that we don't get as African Americans. We just don't get that information. I'll give you a prime example. So I like to say I'm a triple I can't even think of the word right now. Triple minority. I'm a Black female disabled veteran. And so when I went into the military, the job that I went in for, you go in no less than a E3. And so it goes E1, E2, E3. And because I didn't have that knowledge, I went in as an E1. And it wasn't until after my basic training that I found that out. And I'm like, why don't we get that information? Us as Black people, we just don't. They put it out there, but they make it so hard to find. They make it so that we can't find it. And then we're sick, so we don't feel like trying to find it. So I appreciate you for putting this information out there, for being open to helping people find this information and understand how to use that information.
Well, the yellow school bus is not coming down our street.
And I'm from the south side of Chicago. I was born and raised on 55th and Paulina. We weren't getting no information.
You're not. We weren't getting that. Like Bianca says all the time, you're Black. You're not. I mean, it's reality of it. You as a Black individual are not going to get that information unless you know someone that can give it to you. Charnel Conley Baxter is saying hello, Miss Charnel. Thank you so much for tuning in. We certainly appreciate you. But there goes to show you, you have and thank you so much for your service, right? You should have been treated so much better. But here we are. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like, here we are. You gave up your life pretty much to go and serve in the service, right? Expecting to be treated with, honesty, with truth, with, met with, okay, we're going to help you get what you need to have. Not you're going to have to figure out what you need to have. And then once you figure it out, and a lot of times what happens is that once you figure it out, by then it's all gone.
It's too late.
It's too late. It's really too late.
My mother My mother passed of lung cancer. We found out in, I want to say, June. And by August, she had passed. But she was going to the doctor and going to the doctor, and they assumed she was drug seeking, and there's nothing wrong with you. But she ended up having stage 4 lung cancer and passing a few months later.
And they do the same thing, sadly, they do the same thing with those individuals who are sickle cell warriors. They do the
Mm.
same thing, the same exact thing. The same thing with just about anybody that goes into, a rare disease or any type of chronic health condition. They just think that that's what we deserve, right? We're not
Mm-hmm.
asking any questions. That's not what we. That's what we get. I'm going to ask you quickly. What are your next steps?
So as far
As far as because I know in everyone, I as I read her bio, I stated that she had brain surgery. She also just had, over the past couple of months, she also just had back surgery. So, and I understand that
spine, I
your
have fat
spine
removed from
surgery.
my spine. Mm-hmm.
Right. So she had spinal surgery, and that was in January. Look at her. Look at Black resilience. Look at Black perseverance. Look at what our Black ancestors brought and put into this world. All of us should take pride in what Jewel has done and how she's sitting here tonight, giving freely of her time, giving freely so that we'll all understand. She's the picture of what our Black ancestors wanted us to see when we said pain or we spoke about pain. They wanted to see us pushing forward, coming together as a collaboration and pushing this thing forward is what they expected for us to do. So you had the spine surgery, you had the brain surgery. Now, as far as your prognosis, is there any, what lies ahead for you as far as prognosis? Is it will you ever have to have brain surgery again or the spine surgery again?
So Cushing's can come back. It is not a disease that completely goes away. It can come back. I don't remember I want to say it's like 50% of patients have a recurrence. So I cannot say that I will never have it, but God willing, I won't have to have it. As far as the spine, the fat can come back because I am still on daily steroids. That is how I get my cortisol. It can come back, but like I said, we're going to pray, and God willing, it will not. Right now, after my surgery, I am dealing with some nerve damage. So half of my left leg is numb. Um, Most of it is in the back, my foot, my ankle, the left 3 toes on my left foot are all paralyzed. So I am hoping that that nerve damage goes away. Right now, they're just watching to see um, if it goes away. So,
But you look at you. And then so what I do want you to do is I want you to tell us all what it is that you work on. Now look, yo, she's dealing with it once again. She's doing it all. She's dealing with the health challenges that she has. She's also doing her own business. Miss Girl is an entrepreneur with a capital E. So can you tell us what your entrepreneur with a capital E has you doing?
yes, I make awareness apparel. So I have t shirts. My shop will be opening back up next month. I closed it down in December, right before I had surgery. And so now I feel like I'm in a position to be able to open it back up and finish doing what I love to do, which is crafting. So I make t-shirts, tote bags, tumblers, mugs, you name it, all in the name of awareness for different diseases. I have Cushing's disease, adrenal insufficiency, endometriosis, fibromyalgia, lupus. So I'm coming out with a lot of different things when I open back up.
And how can someone reach out to you?
I am on Instagram as the Lipedema Cushy. Also, my business page is on Instagram at Crafted with TLC LLC. I'm also on Facebook as Jewel Dukes, just my name. Um, and I can be reached in my DMs or at any time. If anybody ever just wants to talk, I'm always here. If you need advice, I'm here. Yeah, so that's how I can be reached.
Okay. So here you have it. She's able to be reached. Please reach out to her. If you don't do anything but send her some love and just continue to send and continue to pour that God given love that we all have, continue to pour it into her so that even on those days, because I know on Instagram sometimes she puts out things where she's struggling through the day. When we're struggling, we need somebody to say, hey, keep your head up, or send her some spiritual quotes or some special things. Once again, if you really want to know what Jewel looks, as far as a written quote that describes her in reality, take a look at the quote that I actually attached to her details today. It's by Viola Davis. If you'd like a copy of it, just let me know. Because in that quote, I see what we all see right now, which is Miss Jewel Dukes. So with that pretty smile on your face, give us 2 to 3 words or tips or things that that we as black should know, black/African Americans. And I do the two because of the simple fact that some people say, I ain't black, I'm African American. Whatever. This month is for you. So I'm saying black/African American so that you're covered. Not only is this month for those of us that live here in the United States, we also have other countries that celebrate Black History Month. They don't celebrate it in February. They celebrate it at some other point in time during the year. But there are other countries that do honor and celebrate Black history. We at C.H.L.M.S Medi-Helpz Foundation, we now have named it Black Health in History. Tomorrow's event, we will actually talk about medical debt. What is it and how do you get rid of it? And does that medical debt mean that you'll never have to pay a bill again? So we'll tune in tomorrow at 6 o'clock p.m. where we will actually have on tomorrow we will be talking about, and we will have Ms. Ruby Simmons talking about medical debt, what it is, and what we should be looking for as far as African American medical consumers. So Ms. Jewel, 2 to 3 things from you. What do you need?
Community. Major for me is community. Have those people that you can talk to, have those people that you can get advice from, um, bounce ideas off of, whatever it may be. Community is a big deal. Talking about it, it helps. It really does. The second thing would be your voice. Speak up. Speak up for yourself. Speak up for your family members. You do not have to accept whatever these doctors throw at you. You have a voice, you have a right, you are a human being and you have rights. So if you don't know those rights, reach out to Sandra. She'll help you. She'll help you figure those out. But yeah, so those are my 2 major things. We need to, as Black people, stick together, as African Americans, come together and speak up when you need help. I was talking to someone earlier today, and they was like, yeah, I just got out the hospital. I had an asthma attack, and I went in, and they gave me all this prednisone. Then they gave me insulin because my blood sugar was high. And I'm like, you should have called me, because they shouldn't have done any of that. so, yeah, we just stick together, talk about what we got going on, and try to build a community around you.
And with that, I am going to go ahead and close out for the day. Please, once again, stay tuned. Tomorrow is day 28. We're almost at day 29, but with day 28, please come back and and join us and join the discussion that we bring forth. These are topics that we as an African American / Black community need to know about. And you are so correct, Jewel. Community with a capital C is what we need to band together to make sure each and every one of us is able to live a good, fruitful, and healthy life. So thank you for that. And goodbye to everyone.